My name is Glory Chikakano. I run a poultry farm, though in a very small scale anyway, because I have other things I do. And I want to talk about how you can begin to, begin a poultry farm in a small scale, because starting small will give you an idea on how you can, expound it in case you want to expound it. So I want to talk about the first stage is that you have to actually learn that sanitation and the vaccination is the key to to being a successful poultry farmer. What I mean by sanitation is that the environment must be very neat. Yes, some people think that where you rear birds they are usually messy, but the chickens themselves need neatness even more than a human being. So vaccination is when you apply the right drugs and the right time to them, so it will help them to be very healthy. And when they are healthy, you have a great yield in terms of your income and profit. So how you can start a small scale poultry business is that you have to first of all have a very confined small portion where you can breed them. So that breeding has to do with when you bring them, you have to give them proper heating in that small environment that can contain them, so that when you put them in that little space, so they will be able to have a proper heating. Because when you bring like for instance a 20 chicken chicks, and put them in a very big room, it will demand more of heating, thereby it will be sapping your resources. So you have to put them in a small portion of a place where they can have a proper heating. So I do breed my birds for 3 weeks. So like if you take a look at this place, I don't put them here while I'm breeding them. I breed them in a room where a cemented room that is closed up. But here from 4 weeks, that is 4 weeks to 1 month, I'll bring them here. Here is half wall. Then I have to cover them with bags and the tarpaulin. Some of them just to cover it, because if you put them in where they have a closure of like a blocks or cemented a room, they'll have too much heat. So birds also need air. So you have to put them in this kind of a place. I want to talk about how the stages I vaccinate them. I vaccinate them for every 10 or 9 days. I apply gomboro, what we call gomboro. So you have to apply it on their eyes, just like eye drop. I use eye drop container to apply the medicine on them. They call it gomboro. That gomboro makes them not to have infection like coccidiosis, typhoid, or any other infection, or pus. That's a disease that we call pus, in poultry. So after that night, after vaccinating them, gomboro on the 9th day, on when they are 3 weeks, that's 21 days, I will vaccinate them on with lasota for that 3 weeks. That one is also to avoid diseases. Also, the same principle of applying in their eyes. Then when they are 5 weeks, I also vaccinate them the same lasota. So lasota 3 weeks and lasota at 5 weeks. So what that 5 weeks does is that when you vaccinate them at 5 weeks, they will not have typhoid. That typhoid has to do with intestinal disease, just like in a human being also. So when you vaccinate them, they will not have that typhoid. When they have that typhoid, they will begin to have a greenish droppings. What I mean by droppings is their feces. So that will avoid that, because any moment they start having greenish or yellowish or whitish droppings, they'll begin to die. Like 100 birds can die in a twinkle of an eye when they have that disease. So that's what the importance of vaccinating them at 5 weeks. That's same lasota. And when I take out birds, for instance, if I want to sell them or move them to another room, before I put any other bird there, I have to sanitize the place, and fumigate it. there's a particular chemical I use to, to wash the space before I put another bed. Because if you don't do that, the bed might contact disease. Whether the one you took out before it has disease or not, they must definitely have, a disease. So that is why you have to give them a very neat environment at the first place. Talking about, if I want to talk about the profit now. Poultry business, the profitability depends on the quantity that you have. You know, so the it's just like when you are doing printing, the higher the quantity, the much of the profit or the gain. But when you do it in a small scale, it will still give you, that kind of profit in a small scale. For instance, the gain you make when you have 150 beds, it's not the one you make when you have 50 beds. And if you don't take time, you know that you are putting the same effort. So if one has money, it can grow from that 50, 100, 150. That's like that. That's how you make your gain. So when you talk about the profitability now, I can't tell you that there is so much gain in the poultry business. Like, it's not a yahoo profit, sort of, to say. It's not yahoo business. So it is something you do gradually. So when and again, it is seasonal. Your gain depends on season. Business. The season starts, the profit season. Profit, when you want to make profit in it, is seasonal because of the demand, the high demand. It is usually highly demanded from August, September, October, November, all through till May. What that means is that it's during dry season when people do events. But when once it gets to rainy season, the proper rainy season, which starts from June to September, the business is usually very low, because of demand in both ways. Most people don't want to do any of their events during rainy season, and during rainy season, is a cold weather, so birds usually get sick. So most people don't farm much quantity during that period. So the another thing I want to talk about the profitability is that if you don't have mortality, high mortality rate in it, you make more gain. For instance, when you bring 50 birds and you lose 20, it will be very rare for you to cover up the 20 that you lost. It's not that you not have mortality at all, but if you have mortality like 3 or 4 or 5, especially at a very young stage of it, it will not affect you. So, and you cannot, the immortality is inevitable. It's inevitable because anything could cause it, and the disease could come from the hatchery where they were hatched. So I think that's where they usually get their disease, especially cough. So, but if you're a very careful person who love animals, because for you to make profit in poultry, you have to have love for animals. You don't treat them like nothing. You just are treating them like an animal. No, you have to treat them as if you are treating human being. Pamper them. They don't talk, but they need more attention from humans. You understand? So, another way you can make a profit from poultry is through the manure. So when you pack the manure, it's like when you get money from that manure, it seems as if somebody just dashed you the money, somebody just gave you the money, because by then probably must have packed them for a long time, especially if you got the manure very well, and if it doesn't have much dust, if it has more of the physics of the beds, so you sell it at a very high rate, and then that is another extra gain from it. So that's that is the profitability. Another way you can make profit is through maybe when you do supply. If you supply, like, since I have a little farm here, somebody might book me for supply. Maybe if I don't have that number, I can get from other persons, and by the time people order from you more, you make more profit. So it's not all about only depending on the ones you have in your farm. You could also use it to get a business of supplying to people like a restaurant and hotels, or so that's another way you can make your gain. So that is what I need to talk about. It another thing I have to talk about is their feeding pattern. You need to feed them properly. Their feeding pattern, you have to feed them. They shouldn't go hungry. If they go hungry for a long time, you know, they are very fragile, especially this broiler. So if they go hungry for a very long time, they will emaciate, they'll fall sick, you know, and all of that. They don't need too much heat at the during hot weather. They don't need too much heat. It depresses them. Their physics will, you know, begin to look like, you know, whitish and watery and whitish. So you know that they have too much heat in them, and have to space them. Spacing is another very important aspect. If you don't give them a proper spacing, they will not, get big. So they need spacing. If you want to have a poultry farm, you must consider space. Like in a room that is 10 by 10, if you can put 20 beds there when they are, you know, you can put 50 beds there when they are just a day old. Then after 2 weeks, 30 will be there. I'm talking about 10 by 10 room now. Then after, when they are about 5 weeks, it is only 15 that will be in that 10 by 10 room. So just to give you an idea of the spacing. So spacing is very, very important, because they don't like, dragging, feeding, from the other. And they usually bully themselves. Animals, they bully. These ones also bully. When you make space for them, you also have to, a kind of select out the fat ones. Human beings or human beings and animals who don't have equal size. So you have to select the ones that are bigger in size to another space. Then you leave the ones that have equal size. If not, the bigger ones will bully, the smaller ones in size. So these are just is a holistic view about poultry. Thank you.